traders, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I want to discuss my reading plans, my TBR for the year of 2023. So without further ado, we're just gonna go right into it because I have a long reading list. So how I'm gonna do this video, I want to discuss it. I'm actually going to basically read the back synopsis, and then I'll let you guys know my prediction for what I predict, what rating I'm gonna give this book. Kind of sounds fun, and in like maybe 2024, I'm gonna react and see if my predictions were right, and yeah. So anyways, without further ado, we're just gonna begin. Another thing I want to mention too, actually did a random number generator for all these books, so it wasn't me who picked them out, it was the random number generator, and I find like that this was really fun and not something I would stop doing, I guess, not something I'd think of doing, because I'm very much like a mood reader, and it was just fun to have a random number pick out my book. Anyways, the first book that I want to read is Veronica Roth's Carve the Mark. I'll read the back synopsis. In a galaxy powered by the current, everyone has a gift. Kyra is the sister of a brutal tyrant who rules the Shotet people. Kyra's current gift gives her pain and power, something her brother exploits, using her to torture his enemies. But Kyra is much more than just a blade in her brother's hand. She is resilient, quick on her feet, and smarter than he knows. Akos is the son of a farmer and an oracle from the frozen nation planet of Thuvi. Protected by his unusual current gift, Akos is generous in spirit and his loyalty to his family is limitless. Once Akos and his brother are captured by enemy Shotet soldiers, Akos is desperate to get his brother out alive, no matter what the cost. Then Akos is thrust into Kyra's world, and the enmity between their countries and families seem insurmountable. Will they help each other to survive, or will they destroy one another? So that is Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. My prediction is that I am going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. In these, I was being very realistic. I'm not planning on DNFing any of my TBR video or books. Blah. I can speak today. But yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. That's my prediction. The next book that I want to read in 2023 is Soul Keeper by David Dalglish. And I'll just kind of read the back synopsis now. The magic never died. Devin Evanson is a soul keeper, traveling through remote villages as a preacher and healer. But when a mysterious black water washes over the world, the veil is torn, flooding the land with ancient magic and forgotten races. Fire that dances as if alive, corpses that walk, and creatures that can manipulate time itself. And not all the creatures that have awakened remember humanity fondly. As the land grows more dangerous and more chaotic, soul keepers are turning up dead, their bodies transformed into macabre works of art. Devin must set aside his words of peace and accept his new role, slayer of monsters and protector of the human race. So that sounds very interesting. My reading prediction is I'm going to rate it 3 stars. Which, honestly, 3 stars isn't a bad thing, but, we'll see. Next book that I want to read is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. This is a pretty popular book on BookTube, like as of like back in 2014, 2016. Yeah, so I have not read this, so I'm just going to read the back synopsis. When Ruby woke up on her 10th birthday, something about her had changed, something frightening enough to make her parents lock her in the garage and call the police. Something that got her sent to Thurmond, a brutal government rehabilitation camp. She might have survived the mysterious disease that had killed most of America's children, but she and the others emerged with something far worse, frightening abilities that they could not control. Now 16, Ruby is one of the dangerous ones. When the truth comes out, Ruby barely escapes Thurmond with her life. She is on the run, desperate to find the only safe haven left for kids like her, East River. She joins a group of kids who have escaped their own camp. Liam, their brave leader, is falling hard for Ruby, but no matter how much she aches for him, Ruby can't risk getting close, not after what happened to her parents. When they arrive at East River, nothing is as it seems, least of all its mysterious leader, but there are other forces at work. Who will stop at nothing to use people who will stop at nothing to use Ruby in their fight against the government. Ruby will be faced with a terrible choice, one that may mean giving up her only chance at having a life worth living. Yeah, so that sounds interesting. My rating prediction is that I'm going to rate it a 4 out of 5 stars. Next book is Beautiful Stranger by Hope Donahue. This is a nonfiction book, and this is what it's about. Hope Donahue seems to have it all: beauty, wealth, social status. She was an only child who grew up with the best private schools, debutante balls, and a home in Hancock Park, Los Angeles' old money enclave. But beneath her family's facade of keeping up appearances, Hope hid a host of ugly truths, including an insecure, competitive mother, a family friend's sexual advances, and a father who gave in to the demands of his wife and cooling, reserved parents. Hope became addicted to a quest for physical perfection in place of her self-esteem, and by the age of 27, she had undergone 7 plastic surgeries. In riveting, unflinching prose, Hope recounts her downward spiral that alienated her family and friends and led her to theft, bankruptcy, and a sadistic relationship before she began her recovery. A powerful response to a cultural obsessed with extreme makeovers and risky procedures that promise flawlessness. Beautiful Stranger is a timely, cautionary tale. Her story is sure to inspire the countless people like hers who struggle every day in a culture that feeds us dangerous images of an unattainable perfection. So this sounds really interesting. I'm very excited to read this. My prediction is I'm going to read it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I want to read is actually a series, and it is A Court of Thorns and Roses. I finally have the whole entire series. But I'm sure you know what this is about, but I'll just read the back synopsis anyways. When 19-year-old huntress Fair kills a wolf in the woods, a beast-like creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Fair discovers that her captor is not an animal but Tamerlane, one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled their world. As Fair... Is it Fair or Farah? But I'll just say Fair. I think it's Farah. Farah dwells on his estate. Her feelings for Tamerlane transform from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie and warning she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But an ancient, wicked shadow over the fairy lands is growing, and Fair, I'll just say Fair, must find a way to stop it or doom Tamerlane and his world forever. I'm very excited to read this series. I'm going to predict that I'm going to rate it 5 out of 5 stars. Next book that I want to read is Jodi Picoult's Perfect Match. I'm going to read the back synopsis. In the course of her everyday work, career-driven assistant director attorney Nina Frost prosecutes child molesters and works determinedly to ensure that a legal system with too many loopholes keeps these criminals behind bars. But when her own 5-year-old son, Nathaniel, is traumatized by a sexual assault, Nina and her husband, Caleb, a quiet and methodical stone mason, why did I say mansion, are shattered, ripped apart by an enraging sense of helplessness in the fate of a futile justice system that Nina knows all too well. In a heartbeat, Nina's absolute truths and convictions are turned upside down, and she hurtles towards a plan to exact her own justice for her son, no matter the consequences, whatever the sacrifice. This sounds really good. I am predicting that I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, the next book that I want to read is Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein. I'll read the back synopsis. Raised by Martians on Mars, Valentine Michael Smith is a human who has never seen another member of his species. Sent to Earth, he is a stranger who must learn what it is to be a man, but his own beliefs and his powers far exceed the limits of humankind. And as he teaches grokking and water sharing, he also inspires a transformation that will alter Earth's inhabitants forever. This, I'm going to predict, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 stars. Alright, and then my next book I want to read is The Dry by Jane Harper. Let's see. The synopsis is, Federal Agent Aaron Falk hasn't been back to the place where he grew up in 20 years. Not since he and his father were run out of town. Even when Falk gets word that his childhood best friend Luke is dead and his entire family murdered, Falk still isn't planning on going back. But when he gets a note, Luke lied, you lied, be at the funeral. And just like that, Falk is swept back into the secrets of the place and the people he left so long ago. When Falk returns from the funeral amid the worst drought in a century, long-buried mysteries resurface along with the lies that accompanied them, and Falk will discover anew what he's known all along. Sometimes you have to go back home in order to finally leave your past behind. This sounds very interesting. I'm kind of excited to read it, and I'm gonna predict that I'm gonna rate it 3 stars. The next book that I want to read is Dry by Augustine Burroughs. Let's see. Okay. Burroughs chronicles his misadventures in advertising and his terrifying struggle with alcoholism, confirming his darkly comic literary talent with laughter on a road to sobriety. So, yeah, very short synopsis. It is a memoir, and I'm going to predict that I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, the next book that I want to read is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. The synopsis: her dream apartment, her worst nightmare. After responding to a mysterious newspaper advertisement, Jules Larson gets a job as an apartment sitter at the Bartholomew, one of Manhattan's most famous and secretive buildings. At first, the extravagant extravagance of the Bartholomew feels like a lucky break from recently heartbroken and penniless Jules, who has been haunted by misfortune for most of her life. But when a fellow apartment sitter in the building goes missing, Jules begins to suspect there are dark forces at work behind the Bartholomew's glamorous facade. Digging deeper into the building's past, Jules soon realizes that the Bartholomew is more dangerous than she thought, and that escape may be impossible. This I'm gonna predict 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I think I'm gonna enjoy it. Hopefully. And then the next book that I want to read is Autobiography of a Face by Lucy Greeley. At age 9, Lucy Greeley was diagnosed with a potentially terminal cancer. When she returned to school with a third of her jaw removed, she faced the cruel taunts of classmates in this striking candid memoir. Greeley tells her story of great suffering and remarkable strength without sentimentality, and with considerable wit, vividly portraying the pain of peer rejection and the guilty pleasures of wanting to be special. Greeley captures with unique insight that what it is like as a child and young adult to be torn between two warring impulses, to feel that more than anything else we want to be loved for who we are, while wishing desperately and secretly to be perfect. This sounds really interesting, and I'm honestly going to predict that I'm going to rate it 3 out of 5 stars. The next book that I want to read is Seeking Darkness by Heather Graham. It was supposed to be a fun girls' weekend in Salem, but when a past life regression session instead sends a terrifying vision of murder to Kylie Connolly, she's shaken and doesn't know what to think. Worse, later she identifies the attacker from her vision. He's a prominent local politician. Special Agent John Dixon of the FBI's Crow of Hunters is on the trail of a suspected serial killer based on the scanty of clues and unreliable witness testimony. When he realizes Kylie's vision might be his best lead, he must gain her trust and get close enough to guide her new talent. Though she doubts herself, the danger Kylie sees is all too real, and the pair will have to navigate a murderer's twisted passions and deceptions to stop the killer from claiming another victim. That sounds really interesting. I'm predicting that I'm going to rate this 3 out of 5 stars. Alright, next book that I want to read is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Classic. Let's see. I'll just kind of read the back synopsis. It's just talking about how it's a classic. Heathcliff and Kathy believe they're destined to love each other forever, but when cruelty and snobbery separate them, their untamed emotions literally consumes them. Set amid the wild and stormy Yorkshire moors, Wuthering Heights, an unpolished and devastating epic of childhood playmates who grow into soulmates, is widely regarded to be the most original tale of thwarted desire and heartbreak in the English language. Interesting. I don't know. I've always wanted to read Wuthering Heights. I'm going to predict that I'm going to give this 2 out of 5 stars. I know, low prediction, but usually I don't enjoy classics. Hopefully my prediction goes up. Micro by Michael Crichton. One of my all-time favorite authors, Michael Crichton. What this is about. In the lush rainforest of Oahu, groundbreaking technology has ushered in a revolutionary era of biological prospecting. Here, 7 brilliant graduate students recruit recruited by a pioneering microbiology startup company, are thrust into a hostile wilderness that reveals profound and surprising dangers at every turn. Prey to a technology of radical and unbridled power, armed only with their knowledge of the natural world, they must harness the inherent forces of nature itself to survive. Meddling scientific fact with pulse-pounding fiction and blah blah blah, talking about how awesome Michael Crichton is. Oops. So this book sounds really, really interesting. I know I'm gonna love it. I'm predicting though I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 stars. Let's hope it goes up. And I want to read the Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is the first book in the Dark Tower series by him. In a desolate reality, one that mirrors our own, is frightening ways, a lone and haunting figure known only as Roland makes his way across the endless sands in pursuit of a sinister, dark-robed mystery of a man. Roland is the last of his kind, a gunslinger charged with protecting whatever goodness and light remains in his world, a world that moved on, as they say. And the only way he can possibly hope to save everything is to first outwit and confront this man in black, then make him divulge his many arcane secrets. For despite the countless miles he's already traversed, Roland knows these will merely be his initial steps on his spellbinding and soul-shattering quest to locate the mystical nexus of all worlds, all universes, the Dark Tower. That sounds interesting. I'm predicting that I'm going to rate this a 4 out of 5 stars. First Impressions by Nora Roberts. This is like a 2-book bind-up, so I'll read both synopsises. First Impressions: escaping the rat race and the lure of gold-digging women, wealthy businessman Vance Banning moves to rural Maryland. Posing as an out-of-work carpenter, all he wants is peace and quiet, so the last thing Vance needs is a charitable neighbor, especially a beautiful and persistent one of the female persuasion. But there's nothing about Shane Abba that Vance can't ignore. But there's something about Shane Abba that Vance just can't ignore. I can speak today. Blythe Images, when small-town girl Hilary Baxter is offered a prestigious 6-month modeling contract by Brett Bardoff, the handsome and charming owner and publisher of a prestigious fashion magazine. The sky is the limit. Thrust into a glamorous career in New York City, Hilary knows she has it all except for the one thing she really wants: Brett's love. Sounds cute. I'm predicting that I'm going to rate this 3 out of 5 stars. Next book that I want to read is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. As soon as Anne Shirley arrives at the snug white farmhouse called Green Gables, she is sure she wants to stay forever, but will the Cuthberts send her back to the orphanage? Anne knows she is not what they expected. Skinny girl with fiery red hair and a temper to match. If only she can convince them to let her stay. She'll try very hard not to keep rushing headlong into scrapes and blurting out the first thing that comes to her mind. Anne is not like anybody else. The Cuthberts agree she is special, a girl with an enormous imagination. This orphan girl dreams of the day when she can call herself Anna of Green Gables. I loved this this movie as a kid, so I'm assuming I'm gonna love this book as an adult. So I'm gonna predict I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 stars. Last 2 books, I promise. I want to read Star Wars Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber. When the Imperial prison barge purged temporary home to 500 of the galaxy's most ruthless killers, rebels, scoundrels, and thieves breaks down in a distant part of space, its only hope appears to lie with a star destroyer found drifting and seemingly abandoned. But when a boarding party from the Purge is sent to scavenge for parts, only half of them come back, bringing with them a horrific disease so lethal that within hours nearly all aboard the Purge die in ways too hideous to imagine, and death is only the beginning. The Purge's half-dozen survivors will do whatever it takes to stay alive, but nothing can prepare them for what lies waiting aboard the Star Destroyer. For the dead are rising, soulless, unstoppable, and unspeakably hungry. I actually did read this before, like probably twice. Once in, I believe I was actually maybe 3 times, I'm not sure, but once I believe I was 13 or 14 and I really enjoyed it. I'm not that big into Star Wars, but it's like Star Wars and zombies. And then the second time was, like, I believe I was 16. Yeah, and I've only read it twice, and I liked it. I know I rated it a 4-star, and my prediction is I'm still gonna rate it a 4 stars. Nora Roberts' The Obsession. Where? Okay, there we go. Okay, it's in because she has her beautiful face right there. Naomi Bowes lost her innocence the night she followed her father into the woods. In freeing the girl trapped in the root cellar, she revealed her father's horrible crimes and made him infamous. But no matter what she does, Naomi can't outrun the sins of Thomas David Bowes. Now a successful photographer living under the name Naomi Carson, she has found a place that calls to her thousands of miles away, but from everything she's ever known. Naomi wants to embrace the solitude, but the kindly residents of Sunrise Cove keep forcing her to open up, especially the determined Xander Keaton. Naomi can feel her defenses failing and knows that the connection her new life offers is something she always secretly craved, but the sins of her father can become an obsession, and as she learned time and again, her past is never more than a nightmare away. I'm predicting that I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 stars. Let's hope I up it, but yeah, sounds really good. Alright, and that is all that I want to read this year. Hopefully I get to them. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I try to get them a little bit shorter, but it's hard, especially when I'm reading every single back synopsis. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked, can give it a thumb below what you plan on reading for 2023, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye. Hey guys, so if you do want to follow me on other social medias, I am on Instagram and Goodreads. I post frequently on Instagram, so if you guys want the little updates and everything, be sure to follow my Instagram and my Goodreads.